Today we have Michael Della Penna, Chief Strategy Officer of InMarket. I want to welcome you.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you on what just happened. And so I really love the whole consumer intent piece of the conversation because consumers been in a volatile environment for many years now, if we even just want to loop in COVID, et cetera. But there's always sort of pressure on the consumer in one way or another. But it seems like right now it's a very important part of the dialogue. So let's get into what you're seeing and just from general to specific and how you feel about intent.
I would say that we've done a 180-degree turnaround from what we saw in COVID, where during that time, if we all remember, it was about convenience shopping. It was about less frequent visits and bigger purchases. And even the kinds of products that marketers purchase changed, right? Instead of buying the 6-pack, they were buying the case because they weren't going as frequently. Marketers had to adapt to that and build new strategies like buy online, pick up at store, and delivery and online became very popular. And you had to be agile and you had to adjust to the consumer behavior at the moment. Fast forward to today, what we've seen from inflation and tariffs and just an uncertain economy is the fragmentation of everything, right? The fragmentation of shopping in an effort to chase down value, right? The consumer's super conscious of the dollars that they're spending and going down the block if they see it for 50 cents or $1 cheaper. So although you're stopping at Walmart for that convenience, you may peel off and go to the dollar store down the block for your laundry detergent because it's on sale. So those changes combined with the fragmentation of media have essentially changed the way that marketers have to react and the way that they have to market. And there's a new dynamic caused by that that has to, again, point to the importance of agility and adapting to that consumer behavior. We're seeing that data come in many different forms, from where people shop to what they buy and how they pay for things. It's been really interesting to watch that intent data, but also that location data and that commerce data. When you look at that combined, you start to put together the pieces of how it's changed, and more importantly, what you need to do as a marketer to not only understand why consumers are shopping, but when and where to best reach them and connect with them to make sure that your product's being selected versus a competitor's or a private label in many cases.
Walk me through your process. How are you getting that data? What's the process?
Yeah, so we sit on a really interesting combination of permission-based data. The first is intent data, right? So we have owned and operated apps that are shopping list apps. So we actually see what people are putting on their shopping list. And then we augment that with about 500,000 triggered consumer surveys annually. So getting into the head of the consumer, what they intend to do, what they intend to buy. The next bucket of data that we sit on is a collection of 200 million devices in the US that look at where people visit, how frequently they visit, and how long they stay. So that's a permission-based collection process as well, persistently looking at their offline visitation behavior. So where people go and how long they stay in those places. The last bucket of data is probably the most important one. It's what people buy. And we have in-house a collection of about $2.5 trillion in credit card transactions and about $136 billion in item level receipt data. So what people buy. When you combine those three things, I like to say we're like an oracle of consumer behavior. We're able to see those changes in real time because that data is refreshed almost hourly. So it's really helpful for us in terms of building actionable insights for the brands that we work with, because we can identify those changes, the move to dollar stores or club stores increasing, the visitation to dollar stores and big box increasing because of rising inflation and costs, and even what people are buying, right? The increase in private label in highly differentiated categories like bottled water and some dairy products like eggs and flour and sugar. And understanding that allows us to help brands build the communications and the advertising that is able to influence those transactions by highlighting what's important to the consumer. We also do those surveys I mentioned, right? So understanding why consumers are shopping and what's important to them. Price is number one. 84% of consumers recently said they prioritize price. But quality was number two at 74%, and value was at 43%. So the natural reaction for a lot of people is let's just cut the price. It's not always the case, right? If you have a differentiated product and taste and the premium nature of your product, you want to dial up those attributes. So there's an opportunity to not react with a blanket reaction of cutting price, but understanding what is important to the consumer and adapting your message and dialing up the qualities that are going to help them reach for your product versus the private label or the competitor product next to you.
Thematically, I'm hearing you, and I've seen you quoted saying that there's a big move to lower price point by the customer, whether it's value or price driven. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a move to value, but it doesn't always come with a brand switch, right? So I love the example of what we've seen in the coffee category, which had a lot of buzz related to tariffs. So if you look at coffee, what we've seen recently in the data is that there's been an increase in purchases of coffee at dollar stores and warehouse clubs, 15% and 13% respectively. So consumers may be still reaching for their favorite brand, but their value proposition in that case is getting the larger size at a warehouse club where the unit price is more efficient. So that's an important sort of highly differentiated product. Who doesn't love their favorite cup of coffee in the morning? You're going to keep, sipping that coffee, but you're going to think about how you shop for that coffee a little bit differently. And that's an example of a data point that says, yeah, maybe the brand switch didn't happen, but where and why they bought that product changed, and it's moving more into the warehouse clubs. The most important tool for a marketer right now, a modern marketer, is to make sure that not only you have a really reliable data set to make those decisions and build those insights off of, but also a tech stack that allows you to respond and optimize in real time. And that extends to solutions that are able to connect with consumers when and where they are. So some real-time solutions that wake up as they're walking into a supermarket or a department store or a restaurant. It also includes re-examining how we measure. One of the really exciting things that we saw recently in some of the predictions research was around how important measurement is in this world of kind of the rush to value. Marketers have to do more with less. And the way that they build their budgets is by understanding how they're driving incremental performance and outcomes. And for a long time, the industry has been, I would say, almost divided into two camps, right? There was the media mix modeling that was used by the C-suite and the CMO for strategic planning and optimizing what channel investments they were going to do in the coming year. And there was the MTA solutions, which were the campaign tools that allowed you to launch campaigns and optimize those campaigns and understand sales lift. What we are seeing today is not only that real-time capability, but those two worlds unifying. It's not a choice of either or anymore. It is, how do you have both solutions talking to each other in a unified platform? So you can be a CMO and use the tool, and be a digital campaign manager and use the tool, and use those campaigns to feed the media mix modeling in real time with scenario planning. So you can understand, if I change investment in TV versus out of home versus digital, I can drive an incremental sales outcome of 20% lift. Those kinds of tools, I think, are instrumental in the marketing toolkit today, in order for marketers to not only respond to the changing environment, but to optimize and power performance that allows them to keep control of that budget, and more importantly, grow that budget through the results. Of course, AI is powering a lot of that, right? The ability to put AI and find those segments, or optimize that creative with new concepts, or improve performance by understanding where that incremental gain is coming from. Unleashing that is opening up a whole new world for marketers.
Some of the new innovations from InMarket that I see that you have, which is guaranteed IROAS, commerce audiences and moments, CPG sales lift. Uh,
Yep. When we did our prediction survey, measurement was number one and performance was number two in terms of investments for the coming year. We did a mid-year update this year. Those solutions are in line with addressing those key challenges. What is the best dollar that you can spend as a marketer? One that your partner is going to guarantee. And that's where guaranteed incremental return on ad spend came into the picture. We believe so strongly in the power of our tools and the power of AI that we will guarantee performance on that investment for the marketer or the brand. So total home run, very hot solution right now. In terms of outcomes, we talked about unified measurement. Your tool needs to rely on really powerful data, but also communicate what the incremental sales lift was. So that's where CPG sales lift with our item level purchase data came into the picture. You're spending a lot of money on promoting Pepsi or Diet Pepsi. We're going to tell you how much that dollar drove in incremental sales lift based on the exposed and non-exposed user comparison. The things we talked about in unified measurement, it's not a choice of either or anymore. You should be doing both simultaneously. So that investment in your campaigns and your real-time optimization feeds into your tool. You don't have to wait 6 months anymore, like the legacy providers, or a year to get that data. We're going to give it to you in weeks, so that even if that campaign is still in flight, you can make those adjustments to drive that incremental performance. I think the heart of what we do as a company, going back to the Oracle comment, is sitting on really powerful data, making that data actionable, listening to the needs and challenges that marketers have, and allowing them, or providing them, the tools to deliver not only performance, but I think better experiences for the consumer. I love, the reason I came to InMarket was because of the first product it had. It was called Moments. We could wake up a device as you walk into a warehouse club or a grocery store or a dining facility, a QSR. That ability to be the last touch to get that message in front of the customer is incredibly powerful, not only because of the results it provides, which is great for marketers, because you can have double-digit engagement on that, but because of the experience and the context and the contextual nature of it for the consumer. I'm going to tell you where to find that vegan meal, or I'm going to tell you it's on sale, or I'm going to tell you why it's better. All the things we talked about, creating that value messaging or new packaging available, that message can be sent as the consumer is walking into the store. So I think that's an example of the power of real time. It's not only generating better results, but it's generating better experiences and consumers seeking for value.
I want to thank you. And that is what just happened. I'm Christine Russo.